the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
We're getting closer to his return, and the closer we get to him, the faster things are going to happen. The faster the healings, the faster the deliverance, the faster.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Oh, yes, boys and girls, warm welcome to Crypto 7, your bull market channel. And we are on the 4th day of October, and October is turning out to be just as we thought it would on Crypto 7. It is turning out to be Uptober, and crypto is going up very, very nicely. And the altcoins, some altcoins are starting to go up as well. We are still waiting, of course, for Bitcoin to get to all-time high, and we're still waiting for Ethereum to get to all-time high, and we're still waiting for Solana to get to all-time high, and XRP. We say on Crypto 7 there are 3 Ethereums in this cycle: XRP, Solana, and Ethereum. That's right. So none of them are at the all-time high yet. So we haven't really got permission for most of the alts to pump. All we're seeing is the starter, the soupçon, as they say in France, guys. The little taster, the aperitif. We haven't had the main course yet. This isn't the main course. You're thinking, oh, this starter's is like a main course, but no, this isn't the main course, guys. So everything's looking really, really good. Only Crazy Englishman stream on a Saturday morning. So let's have a massive like and sub pump fest and things. Let's do this, everyone. Let's do this. I'm actually not too concerned. One of the things I've done to protect my mental health, I'm going to talk. What are we going to talk about in this stream? Thanks for asking. I'm going to talk to you about the market update, you know, what I expect to see over the next 3 months, and then looking forward, because we're nearly in 2026 and it's time to start thinking about what the crypto market is going to look like in 2026. And some of the people that I follow have started thinking about this more. It's actually quite late on to be doing that, you know. We are now starting to work out a few things, and it's very, very bullish. I have to say, the outlook, going to the title of the stream, Market Update, Hex and PulseChain Outlook, I have to tell you guys, I've got to be honest with you. I've got to be honest. The outlook for Hex and PulseChain looks really, really, really good. More than really, really good. Immensely amazing. More superlatives than immensely amazing. Somebody say in the chat. But I've got to be honest with you guys. I'm looking at it calmly and thinking, hang on a minute. We'll get to all that. First of all, let's talk a little bit about Hex and PulseChain. Now, what you'll see, guys, I'll hook up with the chat as well. How's everyone doing? Say something in the chat to be famous. As I say, it'd be nice if we could get to 1,000 views on a Saturday morning when sentiment is still not really where we want it to be. It's getting there. It's getting there. I'm going to talk about that as well. So we're talking about Hex and PulseChain, what I'm expecting over the next 3 months, what I'm expecting in 2026. I'm going to talk about the sentiment journey, how I'm keeping myself bullish, how I'm keeping myself sane at this time. I've got a few very useful tips there. Yeah, I'm going to share that with you as well. But the bottom line is, guys, that we're 4 days into October. Bitcoin has gone from like 108 to 122 in about a week. Ethereum has gone from 3,900 to 4,500 in about a week. Things are looking really, really good. We just need a bit more time, because we focus on the sentiment a lot here on Crypto 7, because it's human emotion that influences our judgment, isn't it, guys? Particularly when you've had a few too many beers in a nightclub. But, you know, it's a human emotion that affects our judgment. And the bottom line is that we've not had long enough to really remove the September bearish sentiment, which September was a killer. And I'm going to be open and honest with you about something on that as well. I'm going to share a little bit more than most YouTubers would, but I'm going to share that actually I was starting to feel it. Funnily enough, and this is the remarkable thing, and it's no coincidence, I started to feel a bit stressed on the last day of September, and I was really starting to get stressed, and of course that was you see how you track it, the opportunities when people are bearish, the opportunities when there's blood on the streets, people are crying, you know, people are crying. I guess you could say Crypto 7 was starting to shed a tear by the last day of September. We knew that September would probably be poor. I had some hope that because a lot of this cycle has been played quite differently to previous cycles, like Q1's always green, but not this Q1. You know, Q1's post-halving years, the final year of the bull market, always fantastic. Well, not this one. It was all red. So there has been a lot of changes like that. We had a meme coin season way before we should have done. You should get the meme coin season right at the end. We got the meme coin season in the middle of the bull market. We got it in 2024, of course. So there have been a lot of things that are different. But anyway, look, let's so as I say, I'm very, very bullish, and it's hard not to be bullish when you see crypto going up as much as it is, and Hex and PulseChain are going up as well. We are green today. I saw people screenshotting when we were red a day or two ago. I saw a big PulseChain KOL screenshotting that we were red and saying that everything else is green. And last couple of days, I've been saying I hope they're screenshotting now we're green, and a lot of alts are red, and a lot of alts are red because the focus is still on Bitcoin because it's not at all-time high yet. The focus is still on Ethereum because it's not all-time high yet, etc. So this is all to come. But what we're starting to see now is a few little hints. So we're getting little Easter eggs, if you like, guys, if you like the sound of that, little clues, you know, little signs that Hex and PulseChain are going to be just fine in Q4. I'm going to talk about that as well. So if you like the sound of that, make sure to tickle the like button, slap the sub button, and ring that bell button, baby. Yes, yes, yes. Let's shout out the people that are in the house. And I don't think this is going to take very long. So if you want to shout out, now's your chance, guys. Now's your chance. Deploy the like button. Yes, yes, yes. ADP's in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Lighting up the chat as well. Absolute legend. You were first, buddy. Elbow was second, and T-Shares was third. Take your place on the podium, guys. Spray up that champagne. Let's do this, everyone. Let's do this. Elbow's in the house. Imran Sully says, good day, everyone. I don't think I've seen you before, so that's great. Let's everyone warm welcome to give Imran a shout out. That's fantastic. Matty Martinez, also not a name I've seen a lot. This is interesting, isn't it? Maybe some retailer coming, you know? Retailer, they've been working hard over the week, earning money, earning fiat to put into crypto. They're starting to get it now. They're starting to get it now that the legacy system is wrecked. The legacy systems are Titanic. Crypto is the lifeboat. It's a luxury lifeboat, but it is a lifeboat. And people are getting off the Titanic and coming onto crypto. Crypto Mike's in the house. Fantastic. Says, yes, yes, yes. Good morning, all. Hello, C7. Smash the like button. Thanks very much. That's right. Smash the like button, guys. David's in the house as well. Says, good morning, 7. Good morning, David. Great to see you, buddy. Check my pulse. Yes, that's what you got to see it as at the moment. A little aperitif. We haven't even had the aperitif really for Hex and PulseChain yet, but I mean, we are green and most alts are red, and that is fantastic. So people are starting to wake up to the situation. And I'm going to talk to you about jumping around a little bit. So I've already mentioned, haven't I, that I started to feel it a little bit in September. And what I've been doing to just keep myself sane, because this is the channel that streamed every day for the last 2.5 years, is basically not going on X at all. I literally just go on to see what Richard's posting and to check my DMs. That's literally it. And I've got to tell you guys, that in the last week or so, it has really helped me. It has really helped me. And very, very briefly, for a minute or two, I find myself just seeing, you know, what the latest posts are. So the people I'm following, I suppose they're up in front of me. So I sort of read those and things. And I see that there's quite a lot of angst still in the community. And I can tell from the DMs, which is, it may not be a very accurate thing, but I've had a couple of people message me. And obviously, I'm not going to name them, and they're both friends of mine and things. But 2 people that have messaged me even in the last 24 hours. One was very concerned that Hex and PulseChain, it must have been a couple of days ago. One was very concerned that Hex and PulseChain aren't going up while other things are going up. And our last couple of days, we've been going up while most altcoins actually haven't, because there's this need to focus on Ethereum. People know the playbook. You know, why start wandering off into riskier things than Bitcoin and Ethereum until Bitcoin and Ethereum are past their all-time highs? It's a simple playbook, and everyone follows it. That's why you get a parabolic rise in altcoins at the end of a cycle. And we haven't had the parabola yet. It's because people take their huge profits in Bitcoin and Ethereum. So one person said to me, "Oh, I just wish I'd stayed in Ethereum." Another person said, "I just wish I'd stayed in Solana." And another person said, "Oh, somebody or other, some KOL in PulseChain is apparently leaving or threatening to leave the community and taking some people with them and things." And this person's a very positive person who I see on the channel a lot and also in my chat and things. And I just thought, this is the stuff I didn't even know about until they told me. So I said to them politely, "Can you please not even share that stuff with me?" But when you actually stop going on X, which is so toxic, and actually just focus on the big picture, then suddenly you realize something, guys. And I'm gonna let me tell you now. Come close, come close. I gotta tell you, when you stop going on X and just focus on the big picture, you start to realize that we can't fail. We can't fail in Hex on PulseChain. We look so strong. The outlook is so strong. And that's my honest opinion. My last stream, which was the day before yesterday, was a bullish stream. People said they enjoyed it and things. Somebody said in the replay, "Oh, you shouldn't give financial advice." Nothing that I say is financial advice. It's in the description. There's nothing's in financial advice. It's all for entertainment purposes. But I just share what I think after my 10 years. And I do think that Hex and PulseChain look particularly good, particularly when you start to understand how I think the remainder of this cycle is going to play out, and how, more importantly, 2026, which of course is just around the corner. And if you're anything like nearly as old as me, you realize how quickly that flies, you know. So we're talking about, in less than 12 months and things. Where could Hex and PulseChain be then? And it's absolutely phenomenal. And no, I'm not writing off this Q4, which is when it all happens. And this cycle is delayed. And, normally we would have seen Ethereum get to all-time high by now. And it's totally illogical. There's totally no rationale, particularly with the TradFi support for Ethereum. There's no logic to Ethereum not at least performing as well as Bitcoin. So in very simple terms, guys, how are we all doing? I'm in no rush, by the way. I can chat for a while, particularly if somebody shows their appreciation with a super chat. So in very simple terms, Bitcoin is already twice the price it reached in the prior cycle. You would expect Ethereum to slightly outperform Bitcoin at a conservative basis, particularly now it has an ETF, it has treasury reserves, it has companies buying Ethereum, it has companies trying to be the next MicroStrategy. We're too late to be Michael Saylor, because Michael Saylor's done the whole, this is a Trojan horse for a Bitcoin ETF. Proxy Bitcoin ETF is what MicroStrategy is. And, but we could repeat the playbook. Well, of course, it's such a clever idea. It's so clever to copy what really clever people do, but just make it for Ethereum instead. So a number of companies now, there's a Japanese gaming company that's doing it, and things, a software company is doing it as well. They're basically saying, invest in ours because, we're all in on Ethereum. It's the Michael Saylor playbook. So it makes no sense any way you cut the cake, guys. I'll just say it how it is. It makes no sense that Ethereum wouldn't at least perform as well, particularly when you've got guys like Tom Lee saying what they're saying, and he's just attended another crypto conference and he's got an update on the price predictions. We've got that to come, so get comfortable, guys. I heard somebody say they're getting a coffee. Get yourself comfortable. Let's enjoy the weekend together while we wait to get rich in Hex and PulseChain. I still believe we will. If you keep the faith on the idea that PulseChain is a leverage play on Ethereum, and the negative people or the Richard Heart haters will come in and say to me in the replay, "Oh, Crypto 7, it's not a leverage play." It so is. It couldn't be more of a leverage play. It couldn't be more of a leverage play. It's a clone of Ethereum. If Ethereum does well, it's phenomenal. I've said this all the way through what has effectively been a bear market. A lot of PulseChain streamers call the last couple of years in Hex and PulseChain a bear market. And I finally get it. And I can finally get why they say that. Johnny Chaos says it. We've been in a bear market. I can finally get it. Because being the leverage play in the clone, look, you might not think we are, but everyone else does, okay? Everyone with the money out there thinks so. So that's what Richard thinks, and that's what he's been saying on all his tweets all the way through 2023 and 2024, that we're the leverage play on Ethereum, that we take the pressure off Ethereum. Shout out to Vitalik. So it is what it is, guys. So that's phenomenally good if Ethereum does well, and it's phenomenally bad if Ethereum doesn't do anything and if everything else was taking Ethereum's lunch. I said I think Ethereum will be fine, but you can see why people would be getting worried, because Ethereum was $1,300 in April this year, went down all the way down to $1,300. The bottom was when Ran Nuna from Crypto Banter said Ethereum's done, it's dead, it's a dead chain. The reality is that that Wall Street are moving all the mechanism for using proof of human through AI and things is going to all be built onto Ethereum. And rumors of Ethereum's demise were, it turns out, highly exaggerated. A little bit like rumors of Richard Heart, or PulseChain's demise. Richard Heart, of course, is alive and well, probably doing chin up somewhere. Shout out to Cindy Lou. So smash the like and share the stream. Thanks very much. The Wire Writer says hi all. Brilliant, brilliant. And we've got Ruth is in the house now. The chat's warming up now. UniDeFi 369. Good to see you, buddy. Not seen you for a bit. Good to see you in the house as well. Conspiracy Crypto says, what's up, fam? Good to see you, man. Well, yeah, it's warming up, isn't it? We've got Christina, lovely, Christina, and Rusty. Rusty, could you DM me, buddy? Could you DM me? That would be good. I've just got a fun update for you while I remember. Just before, because I'll forget because I got so much. But DM me later. That'd be awesome. Yeah. What else? Yeah, shout out to Rusty. Yeah. So one of the things that bodes very well for Hex and PulseChain is the current performance of Aptos. Now, Aptos launched at the same time as PulseChain, and it has been performing very, very similarly to PulseChain, even though it hasn't had any issues with the SEC, and even though it hasn't had any issues with Interpol, it has had a similar performance, an extended accumulation period, shall we call it? because that's what the guys that know do call it, guys, you know? So what a lot of people are doing now is they're getting out of cryptos that haven't done a lot so far to get into things that already have. It's very, very tempting to do. So a lot of people are selling cryptos have been selling cryptos like Aptos because it hasn't done anything yet, to chase things that have already done a 20, 30x. But the people that know how to make these extravagant, life-changing, wife-changing gains in Q4 of the final year of bull markets, assuming we do have a parabola, we'll come on to all that as well. They know that you get into these sorts of things. So you've probably heard that Aptos is doing very well. So Aptos is a new layer one, like PulseChain. Aptos launched about exactly the same time, like PulseChain. Aptos has been disappointing so far in this bull market, just like PulseChain. But look at Aptos in the last months. It's pulled back a little bit today because it's the weekend and some people are taking profits. But it's up to, yeah, it has pulled back quite a bit today. But people are just taking profits. It's probably a bit of manipulation. It's easy to manipulate a price, but slightly spoils my presentation. But it was up. When I woke up this morning, Aptos was up 35% this week. So it's just had a correction because it's moving up so far ahead of everything else that people are probably thinking, oh, I'll take a little bit of profit here and move to something that hasn't moved yet. Or it might be a trader who's made a huge amount of money on that and they're cashing in. So, but nonetheless, you can still see, even though Aptos is trying to make me a liar, you can still see the pattern here. You can still see the chart, guys. Yeah, let's see if you've got this up. Yes, you have. Good. So Aptos is breaking out. I think Ivan was talking about it, how it's gone bullish on his money line thing he always talks about. I'm hoping he's going to start talking about PulseChain being bullish on his money line soon. But here you can see Aptos. There's loads and loads of similarities between Aptos and PulseChain. There's far more things that it's similar to than are different. Very few differences, really, when you think about it. And so suddenly Aptos is starting to move. This is, I think, what's going to happen for us. The issue with Hex and PulseChain, as I've long said, is there's a gravitational pull around the SAC price, and almost the SAC prices become part of the TA, because until PulseChain is above 3 zeros and a 1, people aren't going to take it seriously. Until it's over 3 zeros and a 1, people will say, it's not going to do anything. The moment it gets past it, we can move up higher much, much faster, much, much more easily. The issue we've had is that just like a rocket ship trying to get past the gravitational pull of the Earth's atmosphere, 95% of the energy is to get that 2% of the journey between here and the moon, which is to get out of the gravitational pull. And we've struggled with that. So presumably a Q4 which resembles all the other Q4s, which would involve parabola, huge moves into altcoins and new layer one altcoins, and Aptos is doing it already, and I'm saying that PulseChain will as well soon. And that's what we need. So Aptos has kind of woken everyone up. It's gone, yeah, I am still alive. Yes, I am going to make people rich here in Aptos. Here I am. Look at me. And I think that PulseChain is going to do something similar when it goes over SAC price, or maybe a bit before. When it does a 2x on where it is now, then people are going to start, and it gets very close to SAC price, people are going to start taking it seriously. When it goes over SAC price, then everyone's going to start taking it seriously. So the journey from here to SAC price for PLSX and PLS is much harder than the journey from SAC price to 3 zeros and a 2 for either of them. And 3 zeros and a 2 to 3 zeros and a 4 will be slightly easier again, because more and more people will be starting to come in. And this is how I think it's going to play. So I think we're going to have a fantastic Q4. A lot of people are just simply looking at the fact that the previous cycles have tended to all end after the 4-year period is up. Curiously, they want to disregard two things, which for me is just completely extraordinary and nonsensical. Makes no sense, guys. It's the 30 indicators that analysts use to tell when we're at the top. Not one of the 30 are currently firing. Now, they might all be firing in 3 months if we have a parabolic move, but currently 0 are firing, okay? So it's so one-dimensional, so low IQ, so binary to just say, look, this is what's happened all the other times. Because what you're ignoring then is the fact the other thing that did happen in all the other times is that we finished with a parabolic move. Johnny Chaos said it when he came on this show. He said, I said, do you think we'll have a parabolic move? Do you think we'll have an altcoin season? He said, there's always an altcoin season because people always seek alternatives. So they've made loads of money in Ethereum. They've made loads of money in Bitcoin, Solana, etc., XRP, the big caps, and now they're starting to rotate. So there's still meat on the bone in the big caps. XRP isn't $3.50 yet. Solana isn't $300 yet. Bitcoin isn't $124 yet. $124,000 yet. So there's still meat on the bone there. There's no point moving yet. So even more will move when Bitcoin gets to 130K, and even more will move when Bitcoin gets to 140K. Remember, these people will then two things. They will be rich and they will be super confident. They'll be super confident. Oh, I'm an investment god. Look at me. Now I'm going to pump the shit out of PulseChain. A lot of people, I also, as I say, and it's the truth, I've pretty much kept away from X, but I have managed to still spot a couple of things just while I'm checking my DMs and things. But people are getting anxious because Ethereum is outperforming PulseChain. But what you've got to remember is that PulseChain is priced in Ethereum. So at a certain point, all these whales that are in Ethereum are going to look at the price of PulseChain and not be able to resist. All right, I'm going to just buy a load of this now. You know, Ethereum, when Ethereum's over 5,000, they're all going to be so happy and so rich. And they're going to think, okay, Richard's been respectful. Richard's been respectful to Vitalik and things. Yeah, why not? Why not? As a hedge, even just as a hedge. They'll have so much money, even if they just get some PulseChain as a hedge. Okay, so, I mean, we don't have the issues of the Ethereum Foundation, you know. We don't have the, I mean, it's a small amount of money in a bull market if it's done in the right way, but in a bear market, it's very upsetting. And the timing of the Ethereum Foundation selling is always a bit odd. I mean, I think that's one of the things we saw in September, actually, isn't it, guys? Early September, we thought the Ethereum Foundation sell 40 million. When did they sell that 40 million? I'm sure the price of Ethereum is a lot higher now than it was when they sold. When did they sell? I reckon, you know, see what I'm saying? But a lot of people think, oh, God, what do they know? The Ethereum Foundation is selling Ethereum. Does that mean they don't think Ethereum's going any higher? That's the anxiety. Talking about this, if we look at... so Aptos tells us what PulseChain is going to do next, okay? So even though we've had a pullback on the weekend, a little bit of a pullback, Aptos tells us that, you know, what's possible. Just like PulseChain, it's been doing nothing since launch. Just like PulseChain, there was an initial spike of interest, and since then it's been doing nothing. It's been in an accumulation period. It's been waiting for the right conditions, and we're just starting to move towards the right conditions. So let's hook up with the chat a little bit more. Good to see you, Sydney. Yeah, thank you. Welcome, UniDeFi. UniDeFi says that's something that's always forgotten. We only beat the SEC in early May. Since then, and up until now, so many good changes have been added to PulseChain and Hex. Yes, and good point. And of course, we have still got the Interpol thing, and maybe I can weave that into a discussion later. And people know my views. My views aren't the same as most people, but I feel that the thing with SEC was that we could all appeal it. We could all attend the courtroom. We could all write to our local people about this, you know, and support Richard Heart in his campaign. We had eloquent guys like Nuclear Hubs telling us what the time scale was, and investors love all that. The problem with the Interpol thing is it's been a desert of information. It's been a barren wasteland. It's been tumbleweed when it comes to updates. There is no Nuclear Herbs equivalent in the Interpol saga. There's no updates. I hear rumors it will be resolved soon. I hear rumors, but nobody has anything more to say than that, which is a shame. And I hear also that the SEC caused the Interpol thing. I hear that the SEC prompted the Interpol thing. So it's kind of like we beat the SEC, but they left something. They left a calling card. They left Gary Bennett's in the house. Fantastic. But anyway, and I can link that on to the outlook for Hex and PulseChain in 2026. Because one of the things in this cycle is that people just haven't really even been thinking about 2026. And I think the moment we didn't get a Q1 like we expected, complete opposite of what we expected, because in the final year of a bull market, you always get a very green Jan, very green Feb, very green March. That's always what we've seen in the prior cycles. That's what we saw in 2013. That's what we saw in 2017. That's what we saw in 2021. A luscious green, 3 months of luscious green in Q1. That would have been fabulous, but it's not what we got. So suddenly things are starting to look very different in this cycle. And then we're starting to think, okay, then once we get to June, I think the anxiety starts around June, because you're thinking, okay, we've only got 6 months now, and we're miles from where I want to be. August is when a lot of people started to sell that were completely wedded to this 4-year thing. As I said, we say on Crypto 7, they tattooed, I'm not going past the 4 years. I'm selling everything in October sort of thing. Logically, those people are going to front run that as well. So some people were starting to sell in August, starting to get nervous. And then, of course, the market came for us in September. One of those things that added, I've talked about how by the end of September, I felt pretty rinsed emotionally. And I think most of you, if I scan on X, we can tell a lot of people are still feeling rinsed emotionally. And like I say, when I'm going to go back on X is when we're above sack price. And we've got hundreds of happy, good-looking ladies celebrating the fact that we're above sack price in tight PulseChain t-shirts. Sorry to sound sexist, girls, but you know what I'm saying. You know, use the equivalent. You know, good-looking guys like Westcott Crypto will come back. You know, the musician, and you know he'll be celebrating and sings. I'll go back on then and enjoy that vibe. But right now, you know, as I say, if you just think about the fundamentals, things are actually really good, and I'll come on to all that. But one of the things that added to the anxiety of September, sharing my personal journey, and this is one of the things that I think added to the pain of September and added to the anxiety. So one of the things I've always said to you guys is that, here it is look, we need to keep an eye on these ETFs because they have a metric shit ton of Bitcoin and Ethereum now. And if they all decide to start selling hard, we are in big trouble. We're in big trouble. I've said in the past, when we see billions and billions being sold a day for a week, I think the game's up. And I think that's what we will see when these guys decide it's the top. And in September, they started selling quite a lot. I think we had like a whole week when we just had red. They weren't selling billions and billions. It was like 300 or 400 million maybe tops being sold. But it's still quite a lot, and it sends a message. It may add it to the anxiety. Because people like me and people like you, because you subscribe to Crypto 7, appreciate the importance of keeping an eye on what these institutions are doing. The BlackRocks, the Grayscales. If you're not keeping an eye on that, then what are you doing? You know, if you're trying to work out when the crypto cycle's over and you're not watching what these guys like Fidelity are doing, then, you know, what are you doing? So they were selling quite a bit in September. There was quite a lot of selling in September, and that added to my anxiety. But as we can see, we started to see buying as we started to see them selling less and buying a bit as we start to end September. And I start to speculate that the advisors, because who's got their finger on the button? It's really the BlackRock advisors are telling these guys when to buy and when to sell. And what they're saying is, I got you into Bitcoin X months ago. I got you into Ethereum X months ago. You're on a nice little profit here. Typically, we do see a pullback in September. So while you go off on holiday, I would just de-risk your ETF position a bit and start loading up late September, beginning of October. And sure enough, that's what we're seeing. So yesterday, guys, we saw $1 billion worth of Bitcoin buying. This isn't, what I'm saying is, this isn't the guys with the big accounts in the ETF independently deciding that it's time to go back into the water. I think this is the advisors that they rely on, who've made them lots of money in their long, you know, investment journeys, investment careers. And they think they're saying, yeah, good idea to get back in now. We normally see a fabulous 3 months. I suggest we get back in. And I think what they will tell them is, and get out late November, December. I think they're probably going to tell them that, or December, January, maybe December, January. Come on to all that in a bit as well. But right now they're buying, and that's very, very bullish. Not just buying a bit either. $1 billion. I think that's pretty much. I think they have bought over $1 billion a couple of times, but you get the idea. It's only the 4th of October, guys. Things are looking really, really good. Keithy's in the house. Fantastic. And JJ, awesome. Keithy says, please click a like. Thanks very much. We've got 60 people watching on YouTube. That's not bad. I don't mind anyway. I mean, as I say, I'm keeping away from X. I'm focusing on the big picture. Is Ethereum going up? Yes, it is. Oh, okay. Well, fantastic. Is Richard still posting like crazy, making updates to PulseChain? Yes, he is. Oh, well, fantastic. Are the tablets here? Did they get held up in customs? No, they didn't. Did the non-profit run off with the tablets? I love the tablets. We have a collaboration with Just Mike Memes, who gives me the fabulous thumbnails. So I love to, whenever I can, use one of his memes of the tablets, because I think the tablets are absolutely phenomenal. As Johnny Chaos says, they're going to go to every rich household in America. There's going to be up to 10 million of them circulated, which means all the semi-affluent, you know, that even remotely affluent people are going to see one, going to get one. It's huge. It's huge. And we've talked about in this stream how new layer 1 Aptos is starting to take off and people are noticing. And I'm saying that this is like a little sign. It's an Easter egg, if you like, that PulseChain's time is coming. This would be the exact worst time to get out. It doesn't concern me if people get out. It doesn't concern me if some KOL recently photoed on a 4-man boat that he hired for a day is getting out and taking people with him. He's going to take all the kind of people we don't want in the community out with him. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Richard Hart's probably celebrating. This person, Richard hates him. If he exits, Richard's probably going to go, right, great. Oh, just as soon as he exits, boom, you know? I mean, it's easy. I mean, one of the things I agree with 90% of what Johnny Chaos says. One thing I don't totally agree with is, and some of the other KOLs are also adopting this line. I think it's to make a point. I think they're saying, don't sit on your ass. Don't sit on your hands. Sorry. Don't be rude, Crypto7, on a Saturday morning. Could be kids listening. Don't sit on your hands waiting for Richard just to pump the ecosystem. On the other hand, as Cairo points out, he must be planning to do something with that $100 million worth of Ethereum that he bridged over recently, you know? And he only has to spend a little bit to really start to light the touch paper. That's my words, not his, that bit. I mean, I don't know what his view is on that. But for me, people just don't get it. A perfect example, absolute perfect example, is Asta. Everyone piled into it because they thought Thezy was going to send it to the moon. People are now starting to use Asta, and they're saying, oh, it's not very good. Hyperliquid's much better. The UI, the user interface, is not as good as Hyperliquid. The functionality is not as good as Hyperliquid. I think we've gone a bit crazy here. And so Asta's pulled back. It's, you know, it's a fun. My audio is a bit crackly. Thanks for letting me know. And I've noticed I had lost some viewers. That's brilliant. Thanks for letting me know. Let's see what's going on there then. I'll try refreshing it. Let's check the audio is still good. Yeah, check. How is it now, guys? How is it now? Hopefully it is bettery. And what else do we need to do here? That's fine. And got the audio done. Yep. Just need to share the screen in case I want to share anything else. I know what I do want to share for sure. As I talked about that, we're going to share that. It's fine for you, thank you. But I think Rusty's right, because for some people around the world, it's not been good, because I have lost about 20 viewers, which would suggest. I was thinking, I'm quite relieved actually, guys, because I thought must be talking a load of crap because I've lost 20 people. I always notice, but hey, talking about noticing things, guys. I think we're pumping up a bit more, so let's share this tab now. Thanks again, Rusty, for letting me know. That's always appreciated. There's nothing worse than bad audio, is there? The image, that doesn't really matter, you know. Thank God. Let's take a look at this now, guys. So PulseChain's up 5%. PLSX is up 5.8%, nearly 6% on the day. This is on the day, guys. Inc is up 5%. Hex is up 5%. And eHex is up 3%. Fantastic. Fear and greed, we're still in neutral. We're at 59. So we got a long way to go. Oh yeah, this was something, I can link this now. So a lot of people are talking about the 4-year cycle, yada yada. They're looking at the peak in 2013, they're looking at the peak in 2017, they're looking at the peak in 2021, and they're seeing a correlation on the date. Yeah, which means technically around about the middle of October, Bitcoin should top, something like that, you know. and then altcoins go on for another few weeks. Maybe we top November, December. But what they are choosing, strangely, bizarrely, to ignore is that all of those cycles had a big blow off top in the final Q4. A big, fat, giant Richard Heart Red Bull can parabola, guys. Put a 7 in if you like the sound of that. Now, we haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen that yet at all. And so that becomes, the options become, if we don't see phenomenally, just like totally extravagant gains in the next 3 months, then there's no reason for the cycle to necessarily fizzle out in December. Maybe we do carry on a bit longer into 2026, and maybe we have that parabola in Jan or Feb, right? Or we do get it. And I'm not ruling it out at all, by the way, guys. We've seen how much Asta pumped. We're seeing how much Aptos is pumping at the moment. We've seen how quickly Ethereum's gone from 3,800 to 4,500, and Bitcoin from 108 to 122. I'm not ruling out that we have a fabulous 3 months. And we're now well placed with a lot of these tablets being circulated and things. But we'll have to wait and see. But it's an interesting one. And then, of course, I've been putting a lot of thought into 2026 and listening to a lot of guys who know their stuff. And I've started saying, you may have heard me saying this already, Ivan, funnily enough, the very next day started saying the same thing. There's a number of guys now thinking similarly, which is that we may top in December if, as I say, we have the parabola. You got to show me the parabola or we're not topping in December. But if you're showing me insane gains in PulseChain for the next 3 months, insane gains in Aptos, insane gains in Ethereum for the next 3 months, then yeah, I could see the logic to us de-risking that. Going back to what I was saying about the ETFs, I think the advisors, just as they told them to de-risk a bit, to take some profit in September, I think they'd be telling them to sell hard in December. So I could see that if we have big gains, and I think we probably will. 60-40, I don't know for sure. If we have an amazing Q4, I could see us going into a short bear market. And why a short bear market? Well, because from May the 15th, we've got a new Fed chair, which means Trump will have pretty much total control over rates and money printing. We're already seeing talk of helicopter money, a rebate, exactly the same as we saw in C19. Donald Trump's talking about giving $2,000, I think, to every American and things. Now, if that doesn't happen, because I think they're linking that to tariffs and things, they'll find something else. The principle is that they're talking about juicing the economy. So if he can't do it this way, he'll find another way of doing it. The concept, you see, the principle is he thinks it's a good idea to give Americans money. And what are they going to do with that money? They're going to buy crypto. They're going to buy crypto. So what I could see is, you see, one of the reasons there's been so much fear, and we're still having to shed a lot of that fear off. We're still not in greed yet. We're not even in greed. So bull markets end when we've been in extreme greed for a month or two. We're not even in greed yet. We're nearly in greed. We're not quite in greed yet. Okay. And I think one of the reasons is because previous bear markets have been very savage. I think this is where the market's going to trick us, because I think this one's not going to be very savage because Bitcoin and Ethereum are so, and Solana and XRP and many of the other ETFs we're about to get, they're so well connected now with TradFi. There's also clarity along regulations, and there'll be more clarity around that. So they're part of the furniture now. They're established. A lot of the volatility is going out now. So I don't see them going down that much. Going back to the institutions, yes. So if we top in December, say, what I could see is Bitcoin topping at about 200, 220, 240, something like that. A short bear market, maybe Bitcoin goes all the way back down to 100,000. Now, it's currently at 124,000, 122,000. So it's almost an asymmetric bet still buying Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum, like I was saying, because Bitcoin has basically doubled its prior all-time high and will likely go to about 220, Ethereum should go to about 15 or 20 before the end of this cycle. If Ethereum's going to 15 or 20, it's probably not even going to go back to the price it is now, particularly when it's got an ETF and all these treasury reserves. Fantastic, fantastic. We talked about this. Copycat Michael Saylor's doing the same thing with their companies for Ethereum. So we're still quite early, really, in that sense. And that's what I see playing, because I can't see how. Trump wants zero rates. He wants zero rates. He wants a lot of money printing. He's talking about giving Americans money. These conditions would really juice us. So maybe we have a mini bear market starting in December. But then, because there's a certain price where all these advisors in BlackRock and Fidelity and ARK Invest are going to tell people they should start accumulating again. So I think the floor in Bitcoin is going to be much, much higher than people expect. Remember, as soon as Bitcoin stops going down and starts going up, more or less the altcoins will stop going down and start going up as well, even if they don't have an ETF or such synergy with TradFi and Wall Street. So I'm going back to what I was saying in the beginning. None of this is financial advice, all for entertainment purposes. It says so in the description, but I'm just thinking this is probably how it's going to be. Because I can't see how Donald Trump isn't going to want to send crypto to the moon in the second half of 2026. And now this is where it gets amazing. If we assume that's right, and as I say, there's lots of people now saying this, then how does that position Hex and PulseChain? If Ethereum doesn't even go in the bear market to the price it is now, and becomes very much, as I say, where Wall Street are going to turn for all their proof of human and AAI stuff, all the stable coins, how is PulseChain going to be positioned? Particularly if the Interpol thing, because we've touched on this as well on this stream. We had the SEC, which crashed the price, but we had some sort of ability to see what was going on with it, a timeline, all that stuff, updates. That was helpful and allowed us to stay confident. Then of course, they prompted Interpol, and that's been a barren wasteland when it comes to updates. And investors do not like barren wastelands when it comes to communication. But them's the rules, guys. They don't make the rules. Now, I'm hearing that Interpol will be resolved soon. In the next 2 to 4 months, something like that. That's what I'm hearing on the grapevine. If we have a 6 months bear market, and surprisingly short bear market, because all these institutions and all these wealthy people around the world, including Donald Trump and his son, decide that Bitcoin's a steal at 100,000 again, or 90,000. It's a short bear market. Maybe it doesn't even go that low. I mean, if Bitcoin goes to 240,000, maybe it only goes down to 120,000, because that's a half price sale. Eric Trump is going to see that as a half price sale. Mike Novogratz is going to tell all his mates to start buying again. BlackRock's going to tell all their clients to start buying again. You know I'm telling you the truth, guys. Search your mind, gents. Search your heart, ladies. I'm telling you the truth. This is how it's going to be. Now, if Ethereum starts to establish itself as, a huge investment class asset and all the rest, as it's starting to, and PulseChain is the leverage play, and Richard Heart has the Interpol thing resolved. So we're talking about the second half of 2026 and how that could look for Hex and PulseChain. I've told you, just between us here, I don't tell anyone, but I'm hearing that the Interpol will be resolved in the next 2 to 4 months. Let's say 3 to 6 months to be on the conservative side. All right? 3 to 6 months means that Interpol will be resolved well before we start to go into the next bull market. And that would be amazing. Utterly amazing. The more I'm starting to think about 2026, the more I'm thinking, well, this is going to be wild. Like I say, we could have an Aptos moment. We're pumping right now. We could have an Aptos moment tomorrow. We could start pumping to the moon. I still think we will have lovely gains in this Q4. But obviously, 2026 around the corner. I'm starting to think about, my investment in Hex and PulseChain in 2026. And I think it's going to be phenomenal. Ethereum will be so established with leverage play. The Interpol thing will be almost certainly resolved by then, by second half of 2026. How likely? I would say at least 85% likely. At least 85% likely. Now, those are good investment odds. Nothing certain. Now, what else is absolutely amazing is that because we haven't had a bull market in Hex and PulseChain, we're not going to go down that much. And this also links to this whole fear around the bear market. Remember, you only need to fear. This is alpha for you now, guys, and you won't hear anyone else put this as well. So pin back your ears now. Tell the kids to be quiet because I'm going to tell you something amazing. And if you can hang on to this, you're going to make it in this cycle. You only need to fear the next bear market if we now have a phenomenal blow off 3 months, massive parabola. All the prior cycles saw a massive parabola, straight up vertical for 3 months. If we get that, then fear the bear market. If PulseChain does a 10x in the next month and then another 10x a month after, fear the bear market in PulseChain. If we do 100x in the next 3 months, and we could do, then fear the bear market. But right now, there's nothing to fear because we haven't had the parabola. It's only the fact that things go up so much that means you've got to have a correction. Because these cryptos don't suddenly have a valuation which goes from X to 10X, 100X in a month or two. They haven't suddenly got that much better. They haven't suddenly got that many more people buying them or using them. It's just you get this FOMO. If we get 3 months of FOMO, and I think it's 60% likely we will, then fear the bear market when you won't want to fear it. If we don't, then start thinking about how good 2026 is going to be for Hex and PulseChain. Because we have been in a bear market for a while. As I say, it's one of the things Johnny Chaos says. We haven't got into a bull market yet for Hex and PulseChain. So because we haven't got into a bull market, we haven't got any big pullbacks to come. I certainly wouldn't be selling any Richard Heart coins. I've never sold any Richard Heart coins. I certainly wouldn't sell any Richard Heart coins unless we go up at least 10x between now and the end of the year. That's just me being honest about it. Yeah, I've honestly never sold any RH coins. I honestly wouldn't even consider selling any unless we at least 10x. If we 10x, maybe it's a good idea to take a little bit of profit. Maybe. If we don't, what's the point? Because we won't get a big pullback. It's more about accumulation and believing. If there's an 85% chance Interpol will be resolved, and Crypto 7 thinks that is an issue. Why is Interpol an issue? Because he won't stream without it being resolved. And that's how it is. These things do matter. It's like when Vitalik got a girlfriend and everyone got very anxious that he'd got a girlfriend. He was distracted. He was wasting his money on man bags. We saw he was selling some of his Ethereum to pay for his romance, and people got very anxious about that. It's bizarre, but people do. And he is the most charismatic person in crypto, bar none. I don't have to tell you guys that. And by the way, he wouldn't have to do 3.5 hour fucking streams once a week. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about maybe 2 or 3 live streams would be all we would need. One, and then another one a couple of weeks later, another one a couple of weeks later. Then, the FOMO takes care of the rest. You know what I'm saying, guys? We need to get past the gravitational pull. And I've long said this on Crypto 7. If we can see PLS above 3 zeros and a 1, if we can see PLSX above 3 zeros and a 1, if we can see Hex at a couple of cents plus, then people will take us seriously and we will see some nice gains in the final Q4. If we can't break the gravitational pull, because it's the hardest bit, it's the first bit and it's the hardest bit, because we have gravity applying to us and the rocket ship needs lots of fuel. I'm sure everyone gets the metaphor by now, but it's a good one and it's mine. It's my IP. So I'm using it. If we can break the gravitational pull, and we will eventually one day, if we can break it in Q4, then expect a 20, 30, 40x in Q4. If we don't break it, and maybe your dilemma becomes you need to start thinking about taking some profit in December. If we don't break it, let's assume we don't break the gravitational pull. That, you know, there's so many people anxious about the time thing that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and we don't actually see a parabolic altcoins and people start selling. If we don't break the gravitational pull, it's possible, I suppose. I think it's highly unlikely, but if we don't break the gravitational pull, what you've basically done is you've just been even earlier than you thought you were. You know, when you got in the sacrifice, you didn't realize the sacrifice period was going to take as long as it did. And then you thought the PulseChain would be one of the first to go, but it wasn't. Well, now it looks like we're going into the following cycle. And that's fine. It is what it is. I can deal with that, particularly as it could be that we get a savage dump in January, February, March. Bitcoin goes from 240 to 95,000 in like space of about 6 weeks. And then all the advisors of all these institutions, because we are now part of Wall Street, like it or not, we are part of Wall Street. They put valuations on these things now and buying opportunities. They're currently still buying so hard. We've seen that. They've just bought $1 billion worth. So that tells me they're not thinking that the cycle's going to end anytime soon. And or that they think the Bitcoin won't go down that much in the bear market. And why wouldn't it go down that much? Because they're going to fucking buy it. Sorry, it's a weekend. I'm swearing. So it's nice to see green, like I said right at the beginning of the stream. I hope the people on X, because I'm not on X, I hope people on X are screenshotting this, because they certainly screenshot it when we're red. I got to tell you guys, I've been in crypto for 10 years. I'm across 45 different cryptos. I'm invested in 45 different cryptos. The Solana guys do not post up when they're having a red day and most cryptos are green. They don't post the prices of their ecosystem. Nor do the Ethereum guys. Nor do the Binance guys. They definitely don't do it. Why do we do it? It's completely demented. It's self-sabotage. I actually think if X didn't exist, we would be a lot higher. We would have broken that gravitational pull. We would be a lot higher than we are now. But it is what it is. Things can move very, very fast in crypto. The challenge for me is getting past the SAC price. Once we pass the SAC price, forget about it, guys. We're going high. We're going fucking high. Add to zero. We're going high, honestly. The delicious thing is if we don't break the sacrifice price in the next 3 months, you have got in even earlier than you thought. And so long as you hodl, I think there's insane gains. Remember, and Johnny Chaos talks about this, the pain of round tripping is nowhere near as bad as the pain of discovering that you should have held all along. If we don't do phenomenally well in Q4, then we're not going to drop barely at all in Hex and PulseChain, in my opinion. Particularly if we get events around Richard streaming, around Ethereum going very high, and more people becoming aware that priced in Ethereum PulseChain is just a steal. It's just like I'm fucking rich now. I'm going to buy all the PulseChain. We only need 1 or 2 whales to say that, and we get past that gravitational pull. We get past that SAC price. We only need 1 or 2 of these whales. But no doubt, no Richard. No doubt, no Richard. No the new humble Richard. And they're going to say, okay, Fuck it, why not? I certainly can't get into Aptos now because it's gone already. I can't get into Solana now because it's gone already. I definitely can't get into BNB now because it's over $1,000. What am I going to get into? Well, I understand that PulseChain's good because the code's good. I understand they've got a strong community. It's not a community for me, but it's a noisy community. And so that's good too. Yes, yes, yes. Well, it's nice to see us so green. Hopefully people will be celebrating on that X. You'll have to let me know, guys. I certainly won't be going on. And oh yes, let's finish with this. Hopefully it sounds like, oh, thanks, Stephen. Appreciate that. He says, I'm on fire today. Appreciate that. Thanks, Rusty, for letting me know about the audio. And must be better because the views are up now. So that's good. Hopefully that's good. Let's finish with this, guys. And remembering all the things we say about the synergistic relationship between Ethereum and PulseChain. Look, the truth is it has a synergistic relationship. You can pretend it doesn't, but it does. Listen up, guys.
In a good way. So talk to me about where you get to. I think last time it was 10K. Now you've already upped that, I think. But how do you see this all playing out? Where does ETH go even at the end of the year?
Well, a lot of it starts with our views on crypto. And, I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. In the fourth quarter, seasonally, Bitcoin strong. But now we have the Fed flipping dovish after being essentially hawkish all year. That's a tailwind for Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoin gets to 200 to 250,000 by the end of the year. And that aligns with Mark Newton's technical targets. Ethereum, as a price ratio to Bitcoin, should recover to its prior, let's say, either average or at least 5-year highs, okay? Mm-hmm. Using a $250,000 Bitcoin, that implies somewhere between 10 and 12,000 for Ethereum by the end of the year. But I do think Ethereum is going to exceed those prior highs. And that's why I think when we get to 12, 15,000, that's what you call, real price discovery. But I don't think that would be the ceiling for Ethereum.
Well, I mean, I guess the last question would be around, if it's not the ceiling, we just celebrated 10 years of Ethereum. Looking out 5 years, you've been right, like I said, at the open of this, in kind of the most panicked of times, whether it was COVID or when tariffs hit earlier this year, you've always kind of said, hey, cooler heads will prevail. I'm not saying that it's going to be straight shot in the next 5 years, but how do you kind of see it getting there?
Yeah, some perspective, in 2017, Bitcoin was under 1,000, and we thought it would get to 25,000 by 2022, but could get to 100,000 a little bit later. Of course, 8 years later, Bitcoin's over 100,000. To us, an intermediate level for Ethereum is matching Bitcoin's network value. So I think a couple years from now, so that would be 60,000 ETH.
I think that's a good place to leave this one, maybe. 60,000. Again, it's not just the price targets. I think you being now involved.
Yeah, so there you go, guys. There's a lot of people will be watching that, listening to that, and they will be wishing they hadn't sold some Ethereum at 4,000 in September or 3,900. Listen to Tom Lee saying he thinks Ethereum's going to go to 10K before the end of the year. There'll be a lot of guys who've sold some of their Ethereum and now thinking, right, I'm hanging on to my bag now. I shouldn't have sold. I mean, a lot of people were selling Ethereum obviously at 1,500, 1,300 in April this year. It was at 4,000, of course, when Trump got in. It went all the way down to 1,500. Obviously, people were selling because that's why the price went down. Now, those same people are thinking, wow, if it goes to 10K, I am going to be so upset that I sold at 1,500. And therefore, the remainder of my Ethereum, I'm going to hang on to. So this is the paradox that people sell a bit too early and then they sell the rest too late. But a lot of people are going to be thinking, goodness me. And of course, it's very, very bullish. And it's very, very bullish for PulseChain. So smash the likes on exit, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Cheers. Bye, bye, bye.